Welcome back to Sports Khabri and Arun Foot. I know again an announcement, of course, from your side. I think I'll just give it to you so that you can announce before we start talking.
Yeah, very good evening, everyone. Got an email earlier in the day that YouTube has reinstated the channel. So they did an internal audit and found that it was deleted by mistake. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, Iron Foot is back. So I'll be doing a little bit more on the channel. Hopefully, besides of course our as usual our
Yeah.
ISL talks, and yeah, do subscribe, share, and like stuff that not only I do but we all do together. So that we grow as a community. I think that's very important, not only for Arun Foot but for Sports Khabri, Curious Harry from Hiren, and of course also Indian Food and Football of Shine, so that that we can continue what we're trying to do, and it's important again to spread the word about Indian football, despite all the problems that there are, and we'll speak some of them today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think we had a bit of football today. FC Goa from and Hyderabad. Initially, did look like sort of Goa will run away with this, but pleasantly surprising that Hyderabad did sort of fight back, even with that really young side and fairly inexperienced Hyderabad side. They gave a good account of themselves, like you said before we started, and was impressed with a couple of players. Abdul Rabi on the right hand side looked lively at times. Um, yeah, but and just all in all, it was a fairly surprising performance, and I think it was pleasantly surprising from Hyderabad. But in the end, Carlos Martinez's double, both sort of strikers finishes. The first one, a header, lovely delivery from Brandon, and the second one, the cross from Jay Gupta, and that was very much a striker's finish, just poking ahead of the defender and scoring that. So yeah, no, I mean, firstly, we'll come before we obviously discuss Goa. Hyderabad, what do you make of their performances given the problems they've had of late?
If I look at the problems that Hyderabad are having, I think the first thing is good to see that they still have a team to play. I think that's the first
Yeah.
point, right? I think at some stage it was not clear. Again, all the senior players, experienced players have left. And it leaves back a young squad with certain talents. I think Thangboy, Singto, and others within that HFC coaching squad staff have built a decent B team, and those players are now getting a chance. So that's a blessing in disguise for these players, so to say. What I find good is again on the other side that they still have, at least they have a Joao Victor in there. Gurmeet has even been with the Indian national team over the summer, so it's not that it's completely out of it. And Abdul Rabe was most probably the pick of the players. The highly praised Jay Gupta had a lot of problems. I think Jay Gupta was exposed, and it proves a point. I think that Jay Gupta will have to work himself before he actually deserves to be called up to the Indian national team. I think this was nothing else than what, to some extent, Akash Mishra was doing against Syria. So therefore, I feel the guy has potential, but Rabe was toying with him, was playing with him. But again, Rabe also showed what we discussed, the Indian football problem, decision making, with all the technical finesse that the boy has. Again, the decisions either were wrong, balls were either sprayed too wide, it was not played into the feet. Um, at the end, of course, 2-0 is fine. Uh, 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 um, and but I guess Goa could have scored easily 2-3 more in the first half itself. But maybe what Hyderabad would have done a world of good would have been maybe to score a goal. I think that would have calmed the nerves, would have done well for this very young squad. And still, I think it's very important that that something happens. And yeah, it's crazy times for them, I would say.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Sharon saying good fight from Hyderabad. And if they just had good finishing, which I kind of agree with. I think one player I was disappointed with from a Hyderabad perspective. I thought pretty much the entire team did well, apart from Aaron De Silva. He's not a kid, 26 years old now, and not. You expect more from somebody like him because a lot of the times he is this the pass I mean, he's holding the ball up, but the pass isn't right. Sometimes the finish isn't there. So you also sort of have to call him out. I mean, he's not a youngster to say actually.
No, he's not a youngster, but again, his main experience has been I League, right? I mean, he's been
Hmm.
loaned multiple times to the I League. So from that perspective, is he really an ISL level player? And if you see him today, then most probably the answer at the end of the day is most probably no. And that's again, and we're trying to say you're trying to play a team with an Indian strike force, and again, Hyderabad today perfectly showed what Indian football is about. If you put up an Indian defensive unit, they'll try and fight. They'll make one or two mistakes, or give one or two chances to the opponent, one or two chances too many, and up front, you get close to the box. You even get into the box, but your finishing is atrocious. So Hyderabad FC is a with 10 Indian players plus Joe Victor was a perfect example of all the problems that Indian football is. And to answer Brandon D'Souza's question, dissolving this season, I see it at the moment very, very difficult for Hyderabad FC to try and finish the season. I don't know if FSDL in some sort of way will have to step in to support them. I don't know who's already seen on social media that there were protests from the staff in the stadium with a banner. They were removed by the security, and it's going from bad to worse. And uh, uh, um, um, my my fear really is, and I said that a few weeks ago, that I don't know how long this club will continue playing football. It is very, very sad to see, and but the owners are the only ones to blame, right? I mean, yeah, that's a point to me. Um, Towards the end, when you realize you can't keep your Indian players, why don't you try and sell them and get at least a little bit of money in, so they keep the system at least running? So, um, yeah, my wish would be Hyderabad does finish the season in the interest of the players, but I find it at the moment very, very difficult to see that Hyderabad can finish until the end of April. We're on the 1st of February. How can they survive another 3 months?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think even in terms of the football, do you see them probably nicking a win somewhere down the line?
See that they've not played bad football, even in the first
Yeah,
half of the season when they were losing the games. They were not playing bad football. Hyderabad has a certain way of football. They play decent football, decent level of football, but you have to have that conviction to be able to score. And my question would be now is who's going to get them the goals, right? Abdul Rabe will get them close to the box, will cross the ball in, and then someone needs to
yeah,
finish. They lack simply, I would have said they lack a Bartok Beche, right? Who's won them a championship. That's the sad part at the moment, I think, for Hyderabad. And Hyderabad's situation is, and to continue with Pujan's question on that, in regard to, what is the future? What's the model? I think people need to be realistic when they come in. You can't, if you don't have the deep pockets to really come in and do Indian football. And this is not just at the top level, but also at local level, having passion. Uh, 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 um, uh, uh, is nice to have, but if you don't have the deep pockets to do it, at some stage it's more harmful, because this story now is going to a level which is embarrassing for the club. It is embarrassing for the ISL. It is embarrassing for Indian football. And if it had been in Europe, there are mechanisms of clubs when they don't pay salaries to players and to staff. There are in England there have been tough measures. Bajrang Bhutia's ex-club, Bury Football Club, was dissolved by the English Football League, right? Or sorry, by Her Royal Majesty's tax department. It was dissolved in the end. Bury Football Club, a very, very traditional club. Again, Baichung played for it. The Neville brothers are from the club. Neville used to be someone very, very closely, and now, yeah, let's wait and see. It's a difficult situation. It's a difficult situation. That's the thing for me, that this is something where the club, um, have to be honest. I mean, if you're not, again, the players get a lot of money, but there are people, your normal staff, who are not paid that much, who have to see that they make ends meet at the end of the month. for them it is even tougher than it is where it can where it can work. So for me it is it's again, the players are a problem, but I think this general staff, who we're not even talking about the coaching, but the coaches, I'm talking about general people who work at that club. For them the problem is even bigger.
Yeah. I think I mean, at least for the sake of Indian football, I hope Hyderabad can somehow get back on their feet. But I don't know what I just said. I mean, looks difficult at the moment. Moving to Goa now. Jay Gupta back to a normal player. He got skinned on a couple of occasions on the right hand side by Abdul Ravi. Like, but
Jay
yeah, I
Gupta
mean,
is a talented footballer, no doubt about it.
yeah,
But Jay Gupta is, like many Indian left backs or right backs, is better in his attacking than his defending, and that was exposed today, right? I mean, he one of his crosses led to the second goal, but Abdul Rabe at some stage, I mean, especially that turn from Rabe where he and Narayan Das both are moving in the wrong direction. Narayan Das has been a left back for I don't know how many donkey's years. It's not acceptable, right? So, so that's the reality. But again, are the others better? Again, we can go back into that whole Asian Cup discussion, and we go back into those 50, 60 players. Where do we have the standout players to and for Jay Gupta, I still say has the potential, should be called up to one of the camps, maybe post ISL. So therefore, maybe then he can show what he's capable of. But I always said, again, and a lot of people wanted him in the Asian Cup squad, the same thing it's regard to Parthiv Goa. They are not ready to play at that level.
Yep. Sharon saying he needs experience. I mean, yeah, that is what it is. I mean, young players, give them time, and hopefully they will sort of mature. And Roshan's also saying the same thing, waiting for the second season.
And the point is with Jay Gupta, don't forget, he's coming out of Spain and he practically played amateur football, right? He comes from amateur football and suddenly is a pro. So that jump that he had to make from Spain to the ISL, surely that Spanish tier is most probably technically much more demanding, but still the physicality, playing in weekend, training every day, having to come back to India, settling into Indian weather conditions, all the travel and everything, it is not easy for a footballer. Yeah. So for him, he's got the talent. Give him some more time. But again, if a Rabe can be such a problem for him, other teams, other coaches will have observed that today. They'll be coming for him now. So that will be interesting to see what does Manolo do really with him? Does he change something in his game to ensure that Jay Gupta is not exposed the way he was today?
Yep. I think going ahead, Goa, nobody's doubting their quality. We saw a couple of times Brandon proving what he's worth, and Noah a couple of times hitting the bar. I think it was a sweet effort, looked like it was going in. So yeah, there's absolutely no doubting Goa's quality going forward. Carlos Martinez, of course, but backline worries now with no Sandesh Jingan. We saw Narayan Das a couple of times letting the ball bounce, couple of mistakes. Are there deficiencies there that other teams can exploit now?
Narayan Das is not a centre back. I mean, we're coming to this whole discussion about Shubhashish Bose and about Rahul Beke. It's quite interesting that rather than putting a centre back that you have on the bench onto the field, that you'd rather go to your side backs and make them centre backs. And as good as Narayan Das in his prime was as a left back, at the moment, that's not his position. So I'm very interested to see if and when Nimdo Chitamang comes in. So therefore, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it goes, right? So for me, it is a challenge. It's a huge challenge for Narayan to be playing in that position. And again, Nimdo Chitamang has played well. He's played with Uday, so that is something I think also as an advantage. I think that's where Manolo has gone for players that he knew. Who is brought from Hyderabad at the start of the season or is brought in now, like Borja and also signing Mohamed Yassir. So that's an interesting one. It's going to be interesting that Victor Rodriguez factor who I thought was really coming to his own towards the end of the ISL first leg. That will be interesting to see how they cover it. Is it Brandon? Is it Yassir? Is it Porha? Who is going to be that? But it's going to be interesting to see because Goa has a lot of potential. But you saw that Manolo, despite the 2-0 win, was not happy because, again, Noah Sadui walks off, doesn't, shake hands with the coach. And that's the point. So therefore, it's a great thing. So to me, they are the team to beat in this ISL season.
Yeah, absolutely, Anuma. I think a lot of the story has been about Hyderabad, but there is the sort of story at the top of the table as well. Goa sort of jumping back up to take first spot. They're 1 point ahead of the Blasters with the game in hand. Yeah, and they kind of put themselves in a nice position yet again. They're 1 point ahead. You've got a game in hand, and about 10 games left, 10, 11 games left in the season. They are the team to beat, like you said, Anuma. But which one of the others will really challenge them? We thought it was Mohan Bagan initially, but now it doesn't seem like Mohan Bagan will be. I mean, at least after their sort of cup defeats, the mood is sort of down. Do you see Mohan Bagan itself really pushing Goa for the league shield, or are there other clubs that you think are prime? I mean, a position better right now?
For Mohun Bagan, I think the most important game of this ISL season is on Saturday against East Bengal. That's a derby, first of all. There have been wins and losses in the derby. So that's an interesting one. If they can win the derby under Habas, who's come back, Habas will try and grind out results. That's one. Odisha hosts the Blasters tomorrow. Another crucial game. If that game by any chance ends in a draw, that would be ideal for Goa. If it doesn't get a winner, right? So that's the other thing. Mumbai City is there in the mix as well.
Yep.
But Mumbai City has made now so many changes. It'll be interesting to see how they settle down, right? So it's an interesting scenario. It's like yesterday we were talking about those 6 teams trying to fight for the 6th place because again last evening I realized Punjab FC were really active on the last day of the transfer market, right? Vidya Sagar, Bryce Miranda, Isaac, and then in the end, Hyderabad midfielder. Oh God, I'm bad with names these days. So they made so many signings. In the end, Sahil Tabora, and and so suddenly they have much better. On paper at least, Punjab FC look much better than they were earlier. So therefore, this is a very interesting scenario that all these teams. East Bengal has made a signing of a striker today, so that's an interesting one with Felicio Brown Forbes, a Berlin boy, Berlin-born boy who's now gone and played for Costa Rica and all. So therefore, again, a lot of signings on the last day, a lot of deals which in the end didn't also happen. But I think we're in an interesting scenario. And then it's going to be interesting. I think that the race it's still open. We're still, Mohun Bagan has the least matches and East Bengal have the least matches in 10. The others have 11 or 12 on the top. So therefore, it's not over yet. There are, 8 to 10 matches for all, 10 to 12 matches for all teams to play. So therefore,
fair bit of football left. I don't know. At the top, Ganesh saying Odisha can challenge. FC Goa going to come up against some strong teams, says Joel. With again a couple of interesting things to talk about.
I think the point is that these 5 teams will be playing against each other, right? So they'll be taking points off each other. So that's going to be the interest. Normally, if you've got 2 or 3 teams fighting for a title, you have either 2, 4, or 6, top matches. And so, for my opinion, it's still open. I think we will maybe by round 17, by round 18, we'll realize of where the journey. With 4 or 5 rounds to go, I think we'll know where this journey goes in the end, because it's too close to call, really, because it depends. Again, it's like in the bottom half. If a team is able to get 3-4 wins in a row, those 9 or 12 points put you in a totally different position, a totally different area. So that's been the strength of Goa. Goa has avoided losses and have had very few draws as well. What we're talking about Northeast yesterday. Northeast already has seven draws already, right? And so therefore it's an interesting race. The title, is still to be won.
Yeah, before we move to sort of transfer updates, I know we'll talk a little bit more about the transfers. Just one last question on Hyderabad. What do they do next? Where do they go from here? Is it stick to the same, bring out the boys hopefully every week and play? Is there something that can happen in the background in the coming weeks?
See, anything is possible, but again, the point is, why would we have to ask ourselves the question: why would someone invest into Hyderabad? So any franchise per se, when you're losing that much of money at the moment, right? We'll have to be honest, right? It's the corporate teams who are, who are not good enough really financially to be able to do things. If you don't have that backing, for me, the question is first, can Hyderabad get to the end of the season? And the second question is, does Hyderabad FC survive the summer?
Yeah.
So I think and therefore let's wait and see. As I said, if more and more things are coming out. Again, with the players, we're talking about crores and crores, and it is more hurtful for the staff. So therefore, it again, and more and more people are going to leave the sinking ship. That's the other problem. That's the other. I think the biggest challenge is, I think, that for me is will, for example, the staff, not only the 5 who sort of unfurled the banner, but I think they will have the backing of the other staff. Will those people come tomorrow? Right? Will, at some stage, wherever you are staying with the team, the hotel or the rented accommodation or whatever you have, will you be allowed? So therefore, I wish them all the best. Varun's name is mentioned. Yeah, again, if Varun leaves, is someone else going to come in? Very simple. Again, this is not an easy thing to say. Listen, 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys leave from the ownership group, someone else comes in. I don't see anyone else coming in. The story of, hey, listen, they've been talking for the last 2-3 years. Someone is coming in or someone is investing. Where is that investment? And there is no one else to take over. There is no one waiting to say, listen, if this guy leaves, then we'll come in and invest. If that's someone saying, they're lying. There's no one waiting to take over the club. And again, it has to be either someone, it has to be something like a government involvement, from the local, either municipality or the state government, or that or investor comes in, and that's the reality. They've been trying since they moved to Hyderabad to bring in investments, and it's not happened the way it should have. And that's sad reality, brutal, but brutal reality. That's. You realize it's not much I can say about it, because it's just
I know.
It's just sad to see, because especially on a day that they're playing against Goa with Manolo and a number of players on the field who have won the ISL Shield with this club. The ISL with this club. It's just sad to see that they disintegrate, but I think it shows you what kind of work Manolo was doing at this club with their very limited resources. And these problems were there over the last 2 years, and they still won the ISL. So therefore, that's something.
Yeah. Just move to transfers, Arnav. Any transfers that caught your eye before the deadline closed?
As I said, I think Punjab FC.
Yeah, Punjab. Yeah, yeah.
We
Few of
yesterday
them.
spoke about BFC. I thought Sana and Nikhil were two very good Indian signings. You guys have a
Yeah,
new Danish striker as well, in Oliver.
yeah. Oliver Drost.
So
Drost.
so Drost.
Yeah.
You'll have to
You get
learn
the
Danish.
get
You'll
the
have to get all
yeah.
Danish, you guys. We'll do Danish classes with you. No, jokes apart. So that those are good signings. East Bengal have made two very interesting signings. Victor is again, it's a player of the Messi generation at Barca of La Masia, right? I mean, he was with Cesc Fabregas, with Piqué, with Messi. Played in America, of course, with Toronto and with LA Galaxy. Coming now, joining from Toronto FC. I think Victor Vasquez is great potential. Again, at 37, I don't know how much these Indian conditions will be taxing for a player like him. So that's going to be the question.
Yeah.
I think for East Bengal, I think Felicio Brown Forbes is something which I feel for a replacement potentially good. But I think always in the winter transfer window when you're coming in, I feel you don't give the time for the players to really settle in and train with the team, because because of now you have a 12-team league, you have a schedule built in such a way that you had to figure out Asian Cup in the middle, your breaks for the FIFA windows, which you also have in March. Normally, you finish the whole ISL before the FIFA March window. Now it goes on till end of April, and it's going to be taxing. So from that perspective, it's going to be a challenge, I think, for all teams. And on top of it, I think the biggest problem for all teams, injuries. I think that's going to be the deciding factor. How many injuries will you get, or when will players come back? Jigson, for example, is one of those who is fit, but again has not played for quite a substantial time, right?
Yeah.
Same is for Anwar. So these guys, Anwar Ali, these guys need to get back onto their feet, let them play. Sandesh Jingan looks to be out at least for this season, in the worst case, the whole year. Because it's not his first that kind of an injury, and he's not amongst the youngest players. So that's that. We've had now a number of changes of foreign players. I mean, players like Adrian Luna leaving the league, Victor Rodriguez leaving the league. So that's sad as well. But again, these are realities, and that's why also the Blasters have made some changes to their squad. That's why I'm interested to see what these new additions to the respective clubs can do.
Yeah, no, just again coming back to Victor Vasquez, because sort of the big signing that we're talking about in this window, at least 37. You think he can do a job in the ISL? I mean, again, given the weather changes and all of that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's coming now from Toronto, where the weather was, I don't know, in the last few weeks has been potentially at minus 10, 20, 25. It can be quite cold up there. And Kolkata is at 20, 25 degrees plus and above. And it is something for me is the CV is very good. But is he really? Can he really showcase what he's capable of? Because the pressure in Kolkata will also all be, because again they'll always say oh, you know what, he's same batch as Messi, he's come from La Masia, and he's played this, he's played that. That I think is going to be a challenge.
Yep, absolutely. Asked you this yesterday. I think Anu, any change of mind in your on your sort of signing off the January transfer window?
Sorry?
Any change of mind for your signing off the January transfer window?
No, I still think, I mean, again, all these players have been signed, but I think, again, from an Indian perspective, I think BFC have sorted
Hmm.
out certain things in the defensive department. So I think those are amongst the best. Fedor is being named from the
Yeah,
Blasters, the Lithuania captain. Looks good. I mean, we've had Valskis in the past as well from Lithuania, who was a top striker. So yeah, that's a good signing. And I think Felicio Brown Forbes could be an interesting signing for East Bengal. I think more than Vasquez. I think if that guy can be made to play and be combined with Clayton Silver, could be an interesting one. I remember in his younger days here, used to play around the corner for Rot-Weiß Oberhausen in the lower levels, fourth division here. Third tier at the time. Not a bad player. Not a bad player. I've not seen him in the last 2 years in China, but that's another quality one. So and again, as I said, Punjab FC on the last day, just the sheer volume of players,
yeah,
and if you want to say sort of the worst, I mean, there needs to be no discussion that Hyderabad has lost so many of their regular Indians and of course 5 of their 6 foreigners. Would be interesting down the road to know how and why Joao Victor has actually hung around. That would be interesting to find out in the future.
yeah,
I don't know that yet.
yeah, yeah. I don't know your thoughts on Vukomanovich's comments on Indian football, saying that
I have
hasn't been
only
playing.
I have only seen the headlines, so I've only seen the headline. I've not. I wanted to see the video, but I've not had the time to watch the press conference. So I think it's not fair for me to make a comment without having really seen the video. I don't know if you've seen it or you've
I
read it.
haven't seen the video now, but I've got the quotes here. I mean, this is the part that we're talking about. When comparing ourselves to other countries, the evolution and improvement in many nations over the past 4 years are evident. The Indian national team's notable victories in the Asian Cup against Thailand, 4-1, of course, and the UAE 4 years ago showcased promise. However, the current struggle to score goals indicates a lack of progress. While other countries have evolved, the Indian national team has not even evolved accordingly. That's what he said, at least on the Indian national team. So fair,
Yeah,
fair,
it's
fair. Yeah.
honest assessment. I'm a little surprised because I thought Vukovanovic was a friend of Stimac. Because somewhat you're throwing the national coach a little bit under the bus. Uh, um, so yeah, I mean, the point is, and again, I go back to what you and I were talking last year around the SAF Cup final, where there was that just to answer that one question, Shaggy, no, the problem was there from the start. So that we will bring an investor was there from 2019 itself. So just to answer that, I think Ivan Vukomanovic is that we overestimated where we are in Asian football. I mean, the
Yeah,
more I'm watching Asian Cup, and we've seen some I mean, look at
yeah,
last night how
it's,
Syria was fighting against
yeah,
Iran, right?
absolutely.
That was impressive, really, really impressive. And Syria, even after Taremi's sending off, they went into offensive mode, right? I mean, they said, "Listen, we'll hit you. We'll try and hit you and try and get a result out of it." And I just see the passion of Hector Cooper, which I feel is an older gentleman with a positive sort of aura, which I don't get. Sorry, Igor, I don't get that from you, right? So these are the problems. Uh, 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 I feel that we. I also feel that our players are happy with what they're getting in the ISL. I think that's something. I remember what we were talking a few nights back on a Twitter space that I think we had. It's difficult at the moment. It's difficult, And if I don't have a striker, I somehow have to see that I find a solution for that problem. I need to find means and ways. If I don't have a striker, maybe even play with the false nine. I mean, you played Manvir there, and Manvir got you the goal against Kuwait, right? But he wasn't good against Syria, and he was not good throughout the tournament. And I don't see the logic of the starting lineups, and we need to focus on grassroots, on youth development, and especially on coaching. I think we need better coaches at youth level to teach the kids the basics. It can't be that we have a national team where there are players on the field who can't stop the ball properly, right? And that's the thing. I was discussing it with someone a few days back. Former national team player, now lives himself in Europe. That he's shocked to see that the technical abilities of India have actually gotten worse in the recent past, and it's factually right. Sadly, it's factually right, and that is my biggest concern when I see an Indian football team at the moment. Is saying that why are we technically so weak? Why are we tactically having so many problems? Why, Kaushik, the hunger factor, yes, to me is that hunger, the passion, fighting spirit, And I go back that Ashish Negi said the other day, that in the first two matches, the Indian team did not even go towards its fans and said thank you to them. In the third game, Gurpreet went, and then Igor Stimac sent the rest of the team over there. That's a basic. You have, again, some people say 80, some people say 100,000 people, who came and supported you. Show these people some respect. Show the fans some respect. I mean, yeah, Roshan, exactly. I think the pace is a factor. That's what I always say, is that when we expect foreigners to come to India and perform with our given conditions of how the grounds are, the weather is a huge factor in India, and collective unit as well. There are problems in the team, and I need to sort them out, and that is not being done by the coach. So that concerns me. That is what concerns me at the moment. If I look at our team, that there are too many issues in and around the team, and we have again, none of the players have said anything really about Asian Cup performance. The coach has been defending himself left, right, and center. We've had no statement again from the AFF top brass, which again has its own set of problems, and the rest of the world is laughing about us.
Yep.
We've had people say, "Who's the AFF? What is the AFF?" To me is Shaggy. It's yes, number of licensed coaches is less. To me is also there are coaches who have the licenses, but what are they teaching the kids? A lot of coaches do the licenses to get jobs. Be it in schools or be it in academies, be it in football schools. What is there needs to be some sort of curriculum which needs to be passed on, and there needs to be checks and balances of who's again at all levels. We have no accountability in Indian football across all levels, right? And it seems to be that we are supporting mediocrity, we are supporting failure. That is what concerns me. That is what I say, that I can lose. Again, losing 2-0 against Australia, if you've not seen the match and you look at the result, you say, 2-0 against Australia, it's good. It's good. When you see the match, when you see then even more the Uzbekistan match, you get worried because the way we were outplayed. And if you think about Syria's finishing was a problem. If Syria was better in their finishing, they could have done damage to Australia. They could have done damage to Iran, right? So from that perspective, yeah, and it's a concern that we were the weakest team in the competition. We were by far the weakest team in the competition. That cannot be acceptable to me or to anyone. Yeah.
I know. I think we are talking about the AFC Asian Cup, so it's just fair that before leaving, I just want to get your thoughts on the quarterfinals, and let's just pick a winner from each quarterfinal, and then we'll discuss it again when we get to the semifinals. Um, so yeah, the
Just
first one
to
that
just to answer
yeah,
Shaggy's question, BFC's
yeah, invested.
in youth, yes, but even a BFC, what kind of level of footballers is BFC producing? And this should be the question to all academies. If we're producing good level footballers in the sense of Indian standard, are we actually producing uh, 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 what are we doing to produce better quality players? Who are not Indian level, who, clubs potentially in Asia will look at, clubs in Europe will look at, clubs themselves are looking at players from Thailand, from a Vietnam. Don't need to talk about Korea or a Japan. I mean, at every match, people are talking about Qatar's Akram Afif, that he should play in Europe and no longer in the Qatar Stars League. None of them are doing it about our players. And again, about Stimac and realistic expectation, I don't expect anything from Stimac in the way of a style of play, honestly. India's style of play depends on the players who are available to us, or the players that he thinks we should be using for his style. And he's talking again, and we have a prime example in Wim Koevermans, who wanted us to play Dutch football about a decade back, which we weren't able. And Wim is one of the best coaches, but Wim wanted something we can't play. So to me is whoever is the national coach needs to be realistic in the style, in the football that we want to play. Let's not even talk about the style of play. I'd rather play shitty football and win 1-0, but I've won. But I've seen my team fight. I've seen my team do everything, and then somehow we score a goal and win. We wouldn't be talking about all of this. But the coach has been saying that we will play a certain style of football, which we don't play anyway. I don't
Yeah.
see possession-based football by India. We can't play possession-based. And if we play possession-based football, look at the real stats, which divides the field into three distinct areas about attacking third, midfield, and the attacking third of the opponent. We play most of our so-called possession passes in our own third. So
Yeah.
therefore, and stats make no sense. We had 53% of the ball against Uzbekistan.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. What sort of predict these quarterfinalists? I mean, Tajikistan Jordan is the first one.
I think Tajikistan Jordan is an interesting one because one of those two teams will get into the semis. I think it's going to be a tough one. But I wish Tajikistan that their sort of journey continues. To
Fairy
honor.
tale
Jordan was
run by
brilliant. I think that even Jordan was great against Iraq. That game, insane to come back in injury time and turn the match once more. But Tajikistan story under Peter Zegat, is just insane.
There's a heavyweight clash after that. It's Australia, South Korea.
South Korea looked to be out. 90th-minute equalizer against Saudi. They were the better team against Saudi. I mean, that was clearly evident. I think South Korea hasn't peaked. South Korea has been the discussion that Jürgen Klinsmann is an ego Stimac, which I don't agree to. Having worked with Klinsmann myself in the past, he has a certain way of doing it, and you have to accept that. Either when you bring him in, you have to know. For example, at Bayern Munich, it didn't work. At the German national team, after a certain period of time, it didn't work. So you need to know when you bring in a Jürgen Klinsmann. But this South Korean team has one problem, that they're very, very talented up front. We always talk about Yoon-min Son or Lee from PSG and all these guys, or Wang from Wolverhampton Wanderers. But they've got Kim from Bayern, of course, in defense, but that defensive unit is a little bit of a problem. And the Australians have been very pragmatic, but I somehow feel that Klinsmann and this team have it in them to actually stay in the competition. I think I would go for South Korea.
Fair enough. Iran, Japan, another interesting game.
Iran is bruised and battered. and they will
Yeah.
miss Taremi in that match, and that is a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
problem for
Huge
them,
blow.
in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one. And Japan has had their ups and downs. Of course, lost to Iraq, were behind against Vietnam, but still, this Japanese team to me is the most talented team in this tournament.
Yeah. So Japan it is.
Yeah, Japan for me.
Japan it is. Yeah. Yeah. I'm backing Japan as well to win the entire thing because the only Arsenal player from in this tournament is Takehiro Tomiyasu, and he's now playing a central defensive role for Japan. So that's that for me. Qatar Uzbekistan is the last one I know.
Um, I think it's a test of character for Uzbekistan because we've spoken a lot about Uzbekistan pre-tournament because they're in a group with India. Um, uh, but can they overcome a very, very solid Qatar, who I think have now won 11 in a row at Asian Cups, if I'm not wrong?
Okay.
An insane piece of stat. So from that perspective, it's an interesting one. Almoez up front. You have Akram Afif, who is one of the best players of this tournament. And on the other side, Uzbekistan, yes, very correct. Roshan, number of injuries are increasing. And they came already with injuries into the tournament. So yeah, I think Qatar, also with home advantage, I think Qatar will go through. But
Yeah.
it's a real test to see if Uzbekistan can for once really be you know
Yeah. It's
it'll
Gola
have to
next.
work for you.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be fun. We're moving towards the end of the Asian Cup and the Africa Cup of Nations. So both tournaments heating up. Africa Cup of Nations also throwing a lot of surprises. So if you guys get time, just do check that out as well. But yeah, guys, thanks everyone for joining in the chat. Thank you, Arnava, and it's been a while. So we can say this now. Please do like and share these videos and subscribe to Unfoot Sports Khabri. Indian food and football and a curious Harry and Arnava's channels goes back up and running. So that's that. Thanks, Arnava. Good night.
Good night, everyone.